Hey team, we are back here with Craig Regan. He is another one of our endorsed candidates for College Station City Council. In our effort for you to get to know all of our endorsed candidates, we wanted to sit down with him today and just talk to him so that you could get to know him better. Craig, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all's time.
For sure. So Craig, we've just got a couple of questions for you. And we just want to know, I'm curious, so you have put a very heavy emphasis on compromise, and you really are focused on finding a solution that benefits all people. So what from your personal life and background led you to the belief in efficacy of compromise?
That's a great question, because we are what our life experiences have taught us. I would say that, first of all, I was in the Navy for 5 years, and I was an air traffic controller. And if you know anything about air traffic control, and I don't know if your audience does or not, but it's 4 people stuck in a tower with military planes doing about 400 miles an hour around you. So if you're not willing to cooperate with people, then you're not going to get very far in the industry, so to speak. So you have to learn to work together. You have to learn to put your personal issues aside and focus on the mission. Another part of that would be simply my personal story, right? I mean, my wife and I, we came to the Brazos Valley with nothing. I mean, we came here going to school. My wife was finishing her teacher certification, so we came here with whatever fit in the car and however much money we had in the bank account at the time. And we've slowly built ourselves up. We were living in about a 400 square foot apartment to now we're living in our home. So, and you learn that, instead of just living somewhat in a glass jar or in some kind of, safe space, you have to learn how to compromise in life, right? You have to learn, if you want to build yourself up, you have to learn to take some of the hits, and you have to learn to work with other people in order to achieve your goals, right? Because unless, like you said, you're born into a fantastic amount of money or your last name is something special, then you have to learn to work with other people or else you just can't get along.
Absolutely. So coming into city council, there's a lot of compromise that has to happen. I mean, You're working with a diverse group of people. You're working with staff members that have had, varied levels of experience. And we're really fortunate in both of our main cities to have, staff with great levels of intelligence and background experience, et cetera. But it's working kind of within the group and learning how to effectively make changes that do need to be made. And we've learned a little bit more about you, and you've talked about this plan for the first local tax exemption in the city of College Station. And it's not necessarily a super common thing, but walk us through a little bit about what something like this would bring to the city and how it would affect realtors, the industry, and property owners in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hit it right on the head. This isn't a common thing throughout the state, but let's be clear. Our fiscal position is very unique nationwide. We have 36 to 40% owner occupancy. We have 56% of our population is permanent. The remaining balance is transitory. So we are in a twilight zone, if you will, of a fiscal position with hundreds of millions of dollars in debt. And yet we have half of our population doesn't live here year round. And so when you live in that sort of strange world that nobody else lives in, then we have to start to make our own world better, right? We can't just depend on other people coming in and building this huge business or breaking ground on that. We have to make conditions in our life better. And so how I would do that would be to illustrate, and I'll give you the exact code. It's section 11.13 subsection N. Gives any home rule municipality the power to go in and essentially give a 20% deduction on your home value. Now, that can go for an empty lot, or that can go for a homestead that somebody's already living in. But the reason for that is twofold. One, over the past 4 years, according to the City of College Station's own budget, we have predominantly lost construction permits. Year over year over year, the value of new construction has gone down in College Station. And so the way that ties into the debt is that if we don't find some way to continue to draw new development to our area, that means the increasing burden of our taxes is going to have to go on the remaining 56% of the permanent residency, right? We have to get the money from somewhere to feed this debt beast. So that's position number one. Position number two, there's been a lot of talk about impact fees and what impact fees can do and they can't do. Well, I think that we have shown that impact fees don't pay off as much as some people might think, especially if there's no development. So if we don't have any development coming in, then we don't have any impact fees coming in, and that's not going to help the debt. So it's almost self-defeating in some ways. So I would do this so we can remain competitive in our local real estate market. We have a lot of development coming into our southeast through the Texas Motor Speedway. We have some initial feelings of development coming in off Holloman South. And so that's something that we need to find a way to keep our property values competitive in terms of the market. So when somebody comes in, they're not paying for $120,000 lot and then paying on a $190,000 value of a house. And so that broadens our market of who can come into our community. We're not just looking for the people who live in Pebble Creek. We're not just looking for the people who live in, $300,000 and up. We're talking about $200,000 to $290,000. And if you're asking how that benefits a realtor, well, that gives you more customers, right? That gives you more turnover in your business, right? So this is all a self-feeding circle. I know some of this is complex and it's like really in the weeds, but raise your hand if you think government is simple, right? It's tough, right? And so you have to be able to find tough solutions and compromise, to go back to your first point, to bring that all together to make the city work properly.
Yeah, it sounds like you've thought about how that would help realtors, and it sounds like you're a detail person. So you've done your homework and those details on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you emphasize the compromise as well. So I know you're not going to be the realtor position 100% of the time. The compromise is good. So we just wanted to give you a final, a pitch here why the realtors should support your candidacy.
Well, I think that we have to, in this environment, in this community, we have to live by the adage of one step back, two steps forward, right? There are some people that have thought of working with HOAs as a step backwards in terms of, the realty market, right? I mean, let's be honest. We were at 54% owner occupancy in 2010. We were at 36% owner occupancy now. So over the course of that decade, we have lost almost 20% of our owner occupancy in our city. And what that means is that housing has been filled in by students, has been filled in by renters. I live in Raintree subdivision right now. It's probably 50-50, to be honest, whether or not you own the home or whether or not you rent the home. And so working in that environment, you have to learn to cooperate with these HOAs. And in doing so, you make yourself more of a valuable thing to the community. You increase your own value. You're now somebody that cooperates. You're now a tangible link between a homeowners association and a property management company. And what that does is that makes you indispensable to the community. And now that you're indispensable, now it's easier for you to communicate your ideas. Now they see you as a partner and not as an antagonist. And so that's the second step forward, right? And so you've actually improved on your position from where you were before. So I think realtors should get behind me. I know a couple of realtors personally. I've known one since 2010, since I first moved here. She's a wonderful lady. But it's not just about, I would say vote for me, because it's not just about you. It's about your industry as a whole. It's about your city as a whole becoming more integrated and working together. And when you do that, you get more profitable, you get more business, everybody makes money. And on top of that, your tax rate will stay lower because we're collecting taxes. And so I would urge realtors to vote for cooperation, but also live by the adage of one step back, take two steps forward, and you improve on where you were before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Craig, thank you so much for your time today. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you guys as well. I mean, it's 10:30 in the morning, and you guys got a lot more. You guys got a lot more to go.
Absolutely. Well, best of luck. And
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
All right, y'all take care. Enjoy your day.
Bye.
You too.